got nothing to hide.
Hello guys, and welcome to another one. In this video we'll be talking about how you can wrap your interior trim. So this is how it looked originally. It was very basic, as you can see. All you need is a plastic trimming tool. They're like a couple of quid on Amazon. And then all I'm doing is I'm prying on the trim, and usually most cars have a similar technique because they're just held on by clips. So you just pull it out as I'm doing here, and it should be very straightforward. Obviously first time we do it, it's going to be a bit tight, but it should soften up the next time we do it. So that's a trim piece, and I did the same thing to the other trim piece. And again, you want to put the pressure evenly where you don't actually damage any of the clips. You know, try and do it slowly and gently. Okay, now that's out. These are the tools that you will need to do this work. So first thing obviously is the wrapping paper that you're going to be using. Next we're going to be using a squeegee. This is a bit of an optional. Next we need the vinegar, microfiber towel, and a cutting knife or cutter tool or scissors or whatever. And finally a heat gun or a hairdryer. I'm using a scissor in this case, and I'll just be using that to cut the wrapping paper. What I'm doing now is I'm cleaning the surface of the trim pieces. You can put some vinegar or white spirit to take off all the dirt. And just do that a couple of times, and you should see your towel or tissue gets a bit dirty. And this is usually the best way to clean it, just because it dries off easily as well compared to using soap and water. Next you open the wrapping paper as I'm doing here, and then just spread it out. And what I'm doing here is I'm going to be measuring how much wrapping paper I need. Obviously don't waste the paper because it does cost some money. So I'm trying to do here, I'm trying to cover off all the trim pieces within that same sheet of wrapping paper. And the lines in the back actually help because you can use them as a guideline. And yeah, as you can see, I can just about fit all the trim pieces in that same sheet. Okay, now I'm just cutting through the specific line that I think is enough. Always give yourself a bit of extra leeway. It's better to be extra rather than short of wrapping paper, because you'll have to cut a whole new piece from scratch. So now I'm trying to figure out how much wrapping paper I need for that initial piece. And because there's a curve to the trim piece, I will need more than I would have if the piece was just flat, if that makes sense. So that's why I'm sort of rolling it around to see how much actually I would need.
You think that I'm afraid, but I don't break. I heard you question my stability. You think I'll fall just like a guillotine.
Well, a good tip is probably to use bottles or something to hold the wrapping paper from rolling on. Obviously once you peel off the wrapping paper, it's not going to be as rolly. That's just the paper piece. The actual wrap doesn't roll as much. Okay, so first thing I'm trying to do is I sort of put the trim piece there, I sort of roll it, and it will just usually just stick straight away, and then with my fingers I'm sort of pushing out any air bubbles and just making it stick. What happened here was I realized that I placed it incorrectly, so I had to peel it off and do it again, which was not a problem, and the design of the wrapping paper probably helps hide imperfections just because of the pattern. So as you're wrapping it, I use a heat gun on the sides to sort of push the wrapping paper from the side and let it sort of go over. And then what I'm doing now is I'm just cutting it in some areas to allow it to stick properly, because there were some areas in there that where there was like bits sticking out, so it wouldn't let the whole wrapping paper stick, so I have to like cut it a little bit to allow it to stick properly. Again, take your time with this because you don't want to do a bad job, it will just look horrible. Okay, so the sides are pretty easy, so is the face. It's mainly the corners where it gets a bit tricky, because you wanna wrap the corner without actually What I'm doing here is I'm cutting it in the creases and then just tucking in the wrapping paper. You don't have to do this, to be honest with you, because you're going to clip the paper back, the trim piece back on. That helps it stick, so it's not a big deal. I just wanted to do it. Now I'm trying to do the corners. The corners are very, very tricky because just of the angle that you're wrapping the paper on. So see what works best for you, to be honest. In this example, I messed up on this trim piece. It wasn't noticeable when I put it on, but I didn't do a great job in this one here. So in the next clip, I'll show you what it should look like.
I miss being around you, hearing your laugh and holding your hand. I think of you every day.
This is how it ended up.
I hope and I wish that you're doing okay.
As you can see, the corners, they don't look too bad, but again, this is all going to be tucked in, so you're not going to actually see this, but it looks okay.
Just thought of you.
And this is another example where the corners were actually put together better. Okay, and this is how it is put on. As you can see, it's not very clear where the imperfections are, and to be honest, I think it looks amazing compared to how it was before. Again, this is just a small, quick video, guys. Hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you in the next one. Thank you for tuning in.